All right, welcome to a show. We're here to talk about a very spooky show, film, movie, thing that features a very spooky angel. I'm of course talking about Ghost Rider: Spirit of Vengeance, which features Zarathos. We're not talking about Nicolas Cage, maybe. I guess we better talk about Midnight Mass then.
Guess,
Another time.
guess it's
Another time.
our only other option. Yeah.
Fucked. There aren't too many spooky angels and things, so.
I mean, for real, that was a creative choice, and that was We'll get into it, I'm sure.
We will get into it. So, this is Demon Toast. We talk about gothic and horrific literature. This is, of course, the podcast of Death Wish Poetry Magazine. I'm King Loke, and with me is my co-host CA,
Hello.
and of course, and of course, my brilliant poet Mike Linehan, who has been published in our magazine, of course, and has been on the show and stuff. So,
Thank you.
Yeah, we all have our own religious trauma, which of course feeds into Midnight Mass. Catholicism is so morbid, its plague-riddled, blood-soaked roots run very deep. And that's what this show plays into, the whole ritual of eating Mr. Jesus's body and drinking his blood, the skulls of monks in those weird catacombs in Italy, crusaders, awful shit, right? All this talk about, like, death and redemption. Mike Flanagan basically gives us a parable. Midnight Mass is a show that's, of course, on Netflix. I think it was his third show, right? This follows The Haunting of Bly Manor and The Haunting of Hill House, right?
I believe that was the order.
Well, I've got the order wrong. It was The Haunting of Hill House and The Haunting of Bly Manor, and then Midnight Mass came out. And I think this is his best work, his most expansive, his most dark, his most captivating. It's set on this tiny island. Where is it? Is it in Maine? Where is it? I'm a little dumb. Yes.
Remember, I admit, coming from New England, I was really hoping it was like supposed to be Maine, but I think it's meant to be, purposely ambiguous to kind of leave it.
I don't think they ever fully specify. Yeah.
I don't think so either. It's kind of like a parable. We have this tiny island. We have a couple people living on it. We have an old drunk who lives kind of like a hermit and out of his little trailer. His name is Joe. He has a little dog that he loves. There is a sheriff who is I wrote down non-practicing Muslim, although that does change. He converted for his wife. He lives with his little son Ali. He is the sheriff of the island. We talked a little bit before the show. We think that he was probably elected on the mainland because these Catholic motherfuckers would not vote for a Muslim.
No, oh God, no.
For sure. Yeah.
Our main character is a guy named Riley, who seems to be in his late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah, I would say.
Something like that. Yeah, I'd say probably a little bit more in the 30s category, but maybe I'm just thinking of
Oh my
God. Why can't I think of his not girlfriend's name, who's also like
Erin?
Yes, Erin. Yeah.
Erin Green.
Yes, exactly.
He has a troubled history. When he goes to bed at night, he sees a girl whom he hit with a car. Something happened. He spent some time in jail over that. He's now back home on Mike Flanagan's island of Catholic harmony, let's call it, right? Yeah. Everyone goes to church all the time. They're very church-centric. I find it to be very creepy as someone coming from the Jewish religion. I mean, Judaism's creepy too, but Catholicism scares me. Tell us about this,
I mean, it's super scary. So as a recovered Catholic myself who was brought into the church, I was brought into Catholicism not from birth, actually. There's a lot of like personal backstory there that I won't go into, but I was brought in as a child. I was 6 when I was made to become Catholic, basically. Because also still there was no consent involved. And so there I was, going to Catholic school, being raised Catholic, going to church every Sunday, going to Catholic school and elementary school and all of that. So yeah, I mean, and like it just went on and then did the youth group thing and all of that. Then I went to this like extremely like culty Catholic university after I went to my actual undergrad at like a regular school. It was still a Catholic school, but one of those Catholic in name only. But then for postgraduate, I moved to Ohio and I went to this super, super culty Catholic school called Franciscan University. If anybody's ever heard of that, I'm sorry for your traumas because, like, you don't come out of that place normal, actually. So anyways, the point is, and I've been saying this for a very long time, like Catholicism is really creepy. They like literally worship and like deify death and suffering in a way that I don't think any other, even sect of Christianity really does. I mean, I was 6, 7 years old and staring at a crucifix of a bloody, blood dripping down his body man hung above my bed every night. Like, it's really weird, And we were taught our whole life growing up, to like honor our suffering, and that suffering was a good thing because it brought us closer to Jesus and it made us, relate to him and his suffering. Anyways, I am going on and on basically just to agree with you that Catholicism is very death centric, very culty. Even the more mild variations of Catholicism, when you really break it down, are pretty culty. And the fact that every single Sunday is a blood ritual where you're quite literally drinking blood and eating flesh, I remember bringing this up when I was in religious education class. I would say, isn't that cannibalism? Isn't that wrong? Like, isn't that not good? And they were just like, well, it's different because it's Jesus.
It's God. Yeah,
okay.
It's the Jesus.
Yeah. If I may interject for a moment, part of it is to do, unfortunately, actually. Just to clarify, so I was double checking it. So the sheriff's name is Sheriff Hassan Shabazz or something. So the guy who keeps calling him Sheriff he's
being racist. Yeah.
But like they're also friendly, so who knows? And the thing with the girl and Riley was that he was drunk driving, and that they hit the car, and that's how she died. But yeah, on the issue of Catholicism, as I've mentioned in my poetry and a couple times on this podcast now, also a recovering Catholic. Just there's a lot to unpack. Just literally looking at the corpse of Jesus every Sunday, and this glorifying not only death but like the misery, and that like everything happens for a reason, and something good will come out of the suffering, which I think factors into the show for sure. But also, I think something that's very important to note too is what I put in my notes here is not only the Catholicism, but just like small town or like island culture. So it's such a small community that it is built around this church. Like, if there wasn't a religion, I think there'd be some other social construct that would unify them. But because, it's pretty standard to have a church, and especially the girl who is paralyzed, like she's going to church every day partially because her parents, and some sort of comfort to find in the religion. But like the show really shows just how it can be twisted so easily to this fanaticism.
Yeah, and I think that that's an interesting thing to bring up, because there's a wonderful part where Riley and Erin, they're sitting and they're talking about what they think happens when you die, right?
One of my favorite scenes of the whole series. Yeah, it's so good.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's gorgeous, yeah. And I took Riley's description of his last moments as Flanagan's personal testimony. I think he's, in many ways, a self-insert for Mr. Flanagan, because, he is also a recovering Catholic himself. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
Case, and also he's had, I think he's sober now, but he has also struggled with alcoholism, something like that.
Yeah, which is a theme in this show.
Mm-hmm. So, very much so. Yeah, no, I love that. I also loved Erin's, when it circles back at the end, and Erin has kind of like a reprise of
full body chills.
Again,
that.
Yeah, as someone who
So
doesn't know where he is spiritually, like it fit like just the fine line between like being scientific and spiritual that like just makes it like so cool. Um, but no,
what
their
I like,
relationship I love too.
I did too.
yeah, what I liked about, yeah, I did too. It's very lovely, and the beats of this are very tragic. But my point is that when she talks about heaven and God, it's very abstract and beautiful. It's not a horrifying, bewinged angel hiding in the darkness. And that kind of reminded me because we were talking in a workshop last night about the New Jerusalem that's described in Revelation. It's on Earth. You know, heaven's not like a construct in the Bible. It just isn't. They talk about the kingdom of God or whatever, but like Jesus is going to come back to the earth and they're going to live on the earth.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, like that's fascinating, really. And like that's the fun thing. Like, we are going to spoil the show. So this is your one and only warning. Go watch the fucking show if you haven't watched it. We are going to talk about it because the themes are demand that we talk about the
Yeah,
specifics. But yeah,
exactly.
the conceit of yeah, exactly. Like the conceit of a priest bringing an ageless, horrifying vampire lord who does not speak to a small island and declaring him to be an angel of God, giving everlasting life. It's not that far off. Like, it's not that far fetched. Like, the only real thing the show asks you to accept is that these motherfuckers haven't heard of a vampire before or ever seen like a single movie. And like, if you could, I was like, whatever. This is metaphor. It's fine.
Yeah, no,
But yeah,
mhm.
God, yeah,
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, absolutely. And and the Father Pruitt, or Monsignor Pruitt, is a fascinating character because like another side track about me is when I was in high school, I had a couple friends who were considering going into the seminary. At one point, there was a rumor going around that I was going to become a priest, so people kept asking me. I'm like, oh no, that doesn't seem like me. But it did get me thinking, like, oh, in another universe, what would it have been like, or something? So seeing this man who is like it like go back and forth because like he's the one who starts all this, but he, as we discussed in our chat, he's not even really the force behind what goes wrong here. He
Mm.
is very much delusional and blinded
right.
by his faith, but in his heart he is trying to do good. Um, but
Yes.
at some point he gets a little too fire and brimstone, and then the I forget her name, the ex
Bev.
girlfriend. Well, the ex
Oh, oh,
girlfriend.
oh, 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 Mildred. Sorry,
Mildred, where she just
Hmm.
storms out.
Mildred.
She's like, "I don't want you going back to that church. That's not the man." I
He
yeah
Yep.
declares to them that they are the army of God. That Jesus
Hmm.
brought not peace but the sword.
yes
And much will be asked of them. They will do great things. And she's hard. She's like, what the fuck is he talking about?
yeah
Well,
exactly.
so that whole entire, I mean, yeah, again, spoilers, so make sure you've watched it. Yeah, so that whole his whole entire character I found really really interesting cuz like you watch the show in a linear fashion, but this was my third time actually watching the whole series, but I hadn't seen it in a while, so it felt new-ish again, but I remembered some of it. But when you watch the whole thing again, like with the knowledge that which is doesn't come out until the last episode. His main motivation for fucking all of this, for bringing this psycho angel vampire demon thing, was because he loved a woman. And the irony and the hypocrisy of the fact that here he was in this priestly role where you're supposed to be celibate and all this shit, and it turns out he had a love affair with a woman and a child with her, and that child was now grown, and they never came clean to her about it,
Yeah.
and all of that, but like he loved her, the daughter, from afar, and he loved his former lover from afar all of those years, and he wanted them to be able to have eternal life together. So once because he got the vampire treatment, if you will, over in the Holy Land, I guess, is when all of this happened. He had wandered off into a cave, stumbled upon this vampire angel thing, which then turned him into it's weird because like they don't turn into what he is, but they do turn into some variation of vampire, you know, like when you get the treatment, I guess.
I think that guy. Yeah, I think that guy is like the prime vampire. He's something else.
Right.
Yeah,
Right, exactly.
vampire lore always gets like very tricky going on, like who dies when they get bit, who gets turned when they get bit, and do you need
Mhm.
Well,
to
in
drink
this
the
one,
vampire blood? Yeah,
in this one, they have the dark trick from the Anne Rice where they drink your blood and then they spit it back to you through their wrist. That's how you get
Yeah.
turned into a vampire.
and
you
that
know?
kind of
Yeah.
that happens in Dracula too. So
Right, that's
where
how
they,
you get turned
yeah.
rather than just killed. Because if you don't drink it, then you would just end up
Right.
dying. So, anyways, he gets this
Exactly.
treatment. All of a sudden, you know, reverses back to his healthy, youthful self and is like, oh my God, I want to go do this to Mildred. So that way, you know, we can live together happily ever after. And I'm just sitting here
Rewind the
going,
clock.
wow, you really did all that for instead of just leave the priesthood.
Yeah, it's
To be
oh my
with a
God,
woman,
it's so
like it's pretty wild. It's pretty out there.
back asswards. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
He strikes me as a very weak man. Mike, what do you want to say?
I was gonna say, so there's two things about Pruitt. One is something I truly loved was his conversations with Riley in their little makeshift AA meeting, and then after Riley is turned, and that intense back and forth, which I'm still conflicted about when he's like, "Oh, when I said I killed Joe, and I told you that, what did you feel?" He's like disgusted, and it's like, "No, what did you feel?" It's like angry. It's like, "No, we were gonna be honest. What did you feel?"
Stop
And he
lying
said,
to me. Yeah.
and he said jealous, like to not have that guilt, and I'm like, oh, that hit me, but like also it's still fucked up. It's still so fucked up. Like
Mhm.
but man, there's just so much to unpack with him too. But also, can we just straight up say the was it Good Friday or Easter when when the Great Turning? That was some straight up Jonestown shit. Just
That was Easter.
That
Yeah.
was-
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the big fucking thing.
it
They're
went
all
insane.
They lock the
so
doors.
Scary. So scary.
It's pretty fucked. It's pretty raw. So there was something I noticed about that I really liked metaphorically. You know, I'm like I volunteer for recovering from religion, and a lot of the stuff I talk to clients about is you know, how they are ostracized from their family, and not everyone drank the blood. The people who didn't drink it were attacked and forced to turn, you know? And that made me think about how people get targeted by their families. They get ostracized for not falling in line and doing the religious rituals and doing all the stuff, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
It was pretty upsetting to watch that because there was no escape either, you know what I mean? A lot of people have to live with their families. They have to do these things.
And it was very harrowing, in particular for again the girl who is in the wheelchair. I forget with their parents saying like, "No, no, no, honey, it'll be over soon," as they're like actively like dying and like all this shit.
Actively
I'm like,
dying.
oh my God,
It was like a Jonestown thing, yeah.
It
it's
was.
Right,
fucked up.
because
oh my God,
yeah, what they had brought out, you know, if for anybody who hasn't seen it in a little while, this is the scene we're talking about where they bring out the cups of poison inside the church, and they want everybody to basically poison themselves, and then if you had been drinking, if you had been taking the Eucharist every Sunday, they had been dosing that with the vampire blood. And so the process was supposed to be that if you had been drinking enough of that, you would resurrect. You would come back and, you know, come back as a vampire because, you know, you would temporarily die, but then the vampire blood would bring you back to vampire life, basically. So that was like the process that was supposed to happen. But, you know, of course, they, as we know, like as it got started, it's incredibly horrific to sit there and watch people die from poison. I think it was like rat poison or something, right? Same thing that the dog got killed with. And so, yeah, there were people who just didn't want to do it. You know, either they got spooked or they were just like, suddenly, like, you know, the scales fall off and they're like, oh, I'm in a cult. I don't want to do this anymore, you know? And it's like, well,
Yeah.
doors are locked. And yeah, it got horrific, obviously, absolutely horrific. That's definitely one of those scenes where if you don't have a strong stomach, like, look away.
We agree that the real villain, though, isn't Pruitt, isn't the vampire.
Oh.
It's
Oh.
fucking Bev
It's
Keene.
fucking Bev.
My notes just
Beverly
said, God,
Keene.
I fucking hate her. Just,
Yeah,
oh my
she is-
God.
She's really good at quoting the Bible out of context to justify her psychopathy. You know,
Just literal,
Yeah.
I forget what we called it, like cherry picking or like
Cherry
buffet
picking.
Christianity. Just like fucking picking whatever you want and seeing what sticks. I'm like,
hilarious.
oh my God. And the main comparisons I was making when I was watching the show, I was like, all right, so again, if we're looking at, Mike Flanagan being a Stephen King, fan, it's got the Salem's Lot vibes for sure. It's got a little bit of Jaws with the whole like sheriff being like, "Hey, maybe we shouldn't do this thing," and the mayor's like, "Nah, I'll be fine. We're all fine. Come to church." And then but the Mist, and Bev Keene is that crazy lady from the Mist, 100%. Just
The crazy religious lady. Yeah.
And then when they have the Jonestown shit, she's the one hiding in the back. She doesn't even like die like the rest. They wind up shooting her.
Oh my God. Exactly.
And
There's this chilling line during that scene. Why fight for a few minutes when there's a heaven? You know?
Yeah. Oh, I hate her so fucking much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
when
the constant Bible quoting was interesting because if you like, I mean, the show, it's all Flanagan's are kind of like a slow unraveling, and same thing with like character development itself with Flanagan. So her character in particular, starts off with, oh, she's, you can tell she's like definitely very holier than thou and whatever, but mostly benign, but just maybe just a little bit, prejudice, and just stays in her own bubble.
Yeah.
And then as time goes on, that ramps up. And by the end, by like the final episode, it's almost as if she's pulling a scripture out every sentence. It's like, it starts off like every now and then, she might quote something to maybe like boost people's, energy or like justify something. But then like as the episodes go on, basically what you're watching unfold is like her slipping further and further into religious psychosis, which is exactly what we see happen with her and some of the other islanders, basically slipping into full religious psychosis. And her, none so much as her, for sure. I mean, the fact that when she walks in after Monsignor had killed and eaten, and it was disgusting, that like horrific scene of the body of
He killed Joe.
what's his name? Joe. Thank you. I don't know, I can remember. And Bev walks in on it, and instead of being horrified, she just immediately is
immediately like, oh.
Okay. She goes, okay, and just accepts it, and just is like, all right, let's start integrating this. And then she really does start becoming the one who like really pushes this very intense sort of like saviorism role onto Monsignor Pruitt. You know how she starts like gassing him up, and she's like, you're the chosen one and you're special and all of this stuff. And it was really her. Like, she really was the orchestrator of this, like the level that it got taken to.
It's funny how good she is, Oh, babies. Aw.
Hey guys!
Hello.
It's been forever since I've seen your wonderful smiling face.
Wow. Here we are. A wild Adrian appeared.
Thank you.
Yes.
I am definitely a
Oh my
fan.
God, look who's here.
I know. Guys, it's been a day.
I hear
So
you.
when
Same.
are we with everything?
I'm
Cool.
doing that.
Well, to roll you right in, I basically just got done talking about how Bev had basically demonstrated a full slip into religious psychosis, and how she was the one who really kind of like orchestrated the whole, how intense it got was really her. She was the one to blame.
Yes. Oh, it's all Bev.
So, like, at the end, there's this wonderful exchange where fucking Pruitt finally finds his backbone and is like, this was supposed to be about God. And she's busy, like, you know, babbling about how the church is Noah's Ark and all this shit. The fire from Revelation is going to consume the town. And he's like, this was supposed to be about God, not about all this, whatever. And she turns on a fucking dime and throws him under the bus. She calls him a scribe. It says in the Bible that there will be scribes and liars and priests who lie. And this is after she made him dress like Doctor Strange at his first midnight mass with his tri-pointed cassock, his hellish red cassock on Easter, you know?
Yeah.
No,
Well,
not Easter. Good Friday. Good Friday. Sorry.
And what
I'm not a Christian. I forget. I was never a Christian.
that's
So-
fine. What got me too is like even the mundane shit that was happening before it all went crazy was again. He's not my favorite character, but God, the fucking sheriff like gets put through so much shit, and like when he's sitting in that town meeting thing. And he's being like, yeah, I'm not super comfortable with them giving out the Bible. And she's like, well, it's okay. We know that you don't follow Jesus. He's like, no, we believe Jesus is like, and he like educates her. And she's like, wow, you learn something new every day. And you know, the Quran is just full with all of this murder and stuff like that. And he's just going, what the fuck? Like,
I know.
Well, he's also like, do you see the point here? You don't want me talking about the Quran to your kids. And she's like, thanks for sharing. Anyway.
I don't care. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. She reminds me of a lot of Rebbitzins I was around, like rabbis' wives. Like, they're all like that, too. They have that look to them. So I was getting triggered, too, watching her, despite never going to a Catholic school. Like, I hate that bitch.
She literally has an excuse for everything that she does. And she thinks everything that she does is entirely justified by some verse, even if she's taking it completely out of context and using it to suit her own purposes, which is
It's
like
taking
her
it out of
MO
context.
100%.
Yeah. Oh, and Riley's mom turns that after on her immediately, saying like, yeah, you know, Bev made some comment about, you know, Riley being a murderer. It's like, oh, his mother a murderer or something. And she's like, yes, and God loved him. Why does that offend you so much that he loved him just as much as he loves?
Just as much as
Just
you.
like,
as much as he
"That's
loves you. Yes.
Let's
That
talk-
was
let's-
so
That was it.
powerful.
That was-
I loved that.
Yes.
She's well, and Riley's mom is a good example. Like Riley's mom and I guess his dad too. Like neither of them took the poison at the end. Like they didn't want to take it to that level. They really were just like, oh, we just thought we were like trying to be good people and trying to be religious or whatever. And then as soon as they saw that it was turning into something horrific, they were some of the people that stepped to the side of the church and tried to escape and tried to not, you know, participate, but then, you know, ended up getting bit and just, you know, all of that. And so woke up as vampires, but neither of them ever did vampire shit. They never went and attacked anybody. They never drank any more blood.
Nope.
They never hurt anybody. And it's interesting.
There's a very powerful line. He says, I forget who he says it to, but he says, I think he says it to his wife. He says,
Yep.
all the blood is mine. I didn't bite
Mhm.
anybody. And she's like, me too. And he's like, you know, it's funny. I thought that they couldn't control themselves, but I feel the hunger. It hurts. And I still haven't attacked anybody. I choose not to. And like, I thought that was really compelling, not just as like, you know, a former religious person, very religious person, but as a man too. You know what I mean? Like we all have a choice and we all make decisions in what we do, especially with the privilege that we have and the religious burden we think we have, right? Because as Jews, we all think that we're engaged in tikkun olam, which is saving the world, right? And that can take a lot of forms, such as advocating for Israel or, you know, being, you know,
Bev Keene, it's fine.
joining the IDF and killing Palestinians, like, you know, or
Right.
or throwing your gay son out on the street, right? Like,
Right.
you know.
Right, exactly.
Well, and the thing with the vampirism in the show too was, yes, one is you could see the parallels with like addiction and the like how much sovereignty and like personal responsibility you have in this. Like, oh, I feel the urge, but I'm not feeding. Like, I can choose not to some extent. And that's interesting. But like how they, I forget the doctor's name on the island. How they,
Sarah,
how she like scientifically explains all of this. It felt very much like I Am Legend,
It's
where
great.
it's like it had a scientific backing and theories behind. Like, oh yes, And it's fascinating to me.
It's like the enzyme catches fire when it's exposed to sunlight.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was like, obviously it's all,
It's like Morbius. Like Morbius is not a vampire, but when he's exposed to sunlight, his albino skin becomes cancerous, and he's like, ah, like,
right. But
well,
it's
it kind
fascinating.
of felt even a little like Blade.
Oh yeah.
I was gonna say with the parallel of the vampirism, like paralleling with addiction, in particular, the scene where Joe shows up at Monsignor Pruitt's house is so poignant because of exactly what we're talking about, right? So we have at the end, we have Riley's dad saying, I feel that hunger, but I'm choosing not to feed because it goes against my character and my morals. And then we have Joe, a lifelong alcoholic who is suffering in his alcoholism and trying so hard to stay sober in this moment. And he's feeling that hunger and he's trying to do the right thing. He shows up at Monsignor Pruitt's house for fucking help. And Monsignor Pruitt doesn't suppress the hunger. He does give in to the craving. And he literally
goes
for it,
Yeah. He can't help himself. Or he chooses not to.
He could have. That's the whole thing, he could help it, but he chose not to in that moment. And it was, it's like the way that it's almost as though he like justified that like Joe's life wasn't worth it because he was like a lesser person.
Yeah, like you said, he kept saying he felt no remorse. Like, and that God took the guilt away from him. It's like, no, he didn't. That's not how this shit works.
No, you're just
you're just
yeah,
you're fucked up, man.
I'd like to zoom in on the Catholicism for like a second.
Let's.
So let's do that. So I have this essay from Leah Schnellbach, right? It's published through Reactor, right? It's a cool lady. Let me grab. So this show is Catholic in a way that most religious horror is not, and maybe more importantly, it's ex-Catholic in a way that most things aren't. It uses the usual imagery in ways that are full of love and nostalgia, but the show leaves room for real, raw anger. It deals honestly with how it feels to lose your faith and have to keep living without it. It deals honestly with how it feels to have faith in a world that's pretty secular, and how it feels to have your faith attacked by those who don't understand it. If there's a faith base to cover, Midnight Mass covers it. It doesn't shy away from people using faith as a weapon or a tool to manipulate the fearful. And worst of all, it deals with how those faiths affect people's attitudes toward death. So, CA, you pointed out that Mr. Pruitt, Monsignor Pruitt, did all this because he loved a woman, but I would posit that I'm just going to trust his words. He did it because he was afraid of dying. And he strikes me as a very weak person, very weak-willed person, very, very scared man, despite being a priest, There is a nobility to him, but I feel like he's more just timid and scared and unsure of himself. Insecure is the word, right? And when he finds his angel in the old church in Jerusalem, and suddenly he's young again and he can live forever and all this stuff, he's like, this is the way. And he's deluding himself, almost to the point where, like I said at the beginning of this, that the show asks you to accept that none of these people have heard of a vampire or seen a single vampire movie. It's also very possible that Pruitt knew what a vampire was and just chose to think that this was an angel because of how delusional he is,
Oh, yeah, I think it's willful delusion. I think it was willful delusion, if you want my opinion. I think because from what I understood from the story, like, he didn't, like, seek out this experience in the cave with the vampire angel thing. Like, it just sort of happened. Like, he got lost, he stumbled into this cave, this thing happened to him. Then from that point, once he woke up and realized that he was, alive again and aging in reverse and all of that, like, from that point forward, then he starts making a series of decisions. And those decisions, it seemed as though, as he later on confessed, were motivated by the fact that he had a woman he loved and a daughter back on the island, and he didn't want them to suffer, and he wanted them to live forever and all of this. And so I think he created a delusion around what this being was, right? Because I think you're right. Like, he knew that what happened to him was not normal and was not natural, and we're dealing with something supernatural right now. And I think he chose to turn it into a delusion where, how can I spin this within the framework of who I am and where I'm going back to, this little island? Like, how can I spin this? And basically his brain just created this delusional framework to work with, I think.
Spurred by that bitch, Bev. That treacherous
And then
bitch.
she took it and literally ramped it up to 1,000 for sure.
Yeah. Well, and what comes to that too is when it comes towards the end, again, her just going full crazy. She's the one who sets fire to the rest of the houses on the island. For I forget what the rationale was, like some biblical reference or something.
Yeah.
It's like, the church is.
It's the book of Revelation. The angel poured the first chalice or the fourth chalice out on the sun. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fire.
And in a storm, we all know where to go, to the church, and they have their little community center. Yeah.
Because the church didn't burn in the big fire of 84, 86, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God, it's God's will. I'm dumb and I see coincidences everywhere. Yeah,
And so they go to the big community center, which then gets, but they have all the people who weren't the faithful who were turned, like the one guy who got turned, but then killed his entire family, and they weren't resurrected. And she's like, well, that's what you get for being a heathen or something, turns them away. And Father Pruitt steps up to be like, no, you can come with me. The church stays open.
It's horrifying.
And that's where he redeems himself a little bit in the sense of this has all gone sideways. But if this is what the church is supposed to be about, then the church stays open for everyone. And then, of course,
well, and I find it so interesting too, how at the end scene there where he he goes, oh no, he can come into the church stays open. It's you can see that there's this very feeble attempt writing wise to it's not really an attempt to redeem his character. Actually what it is it's a what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a literary device to illustrate that sometimes it's gone too far and there is no redemption. Even if at the last minute you go, oh no, I was the bad guy, I'm sorry. It's too late. Sorry.
It's an epiphany. It's an epiphany.
It's an epiphany, and it's too little, too late, and it's a hard watch in some ways. You know what I mean? Because you're
it's the point where he says this was supposed to be about God, right?
I think that's what the ending of the show is really beautifully tragic in a way, is that everyone kind of has the moment of we fucked up and there's no place to go, and the whole island gathers to sing a psalm. There's no escaping their fate anymore, but this is the community that they came together. Meanwhile, Bev, much like Revelation, is trying to literally hide from the sun, digging a hole in the fucking sand.
It's
desperately.
great.
I mean,
why the
poetic.
fuck didn't she do that beforehand? She should have been digging that hole as soon as she realized with who she was. I was just like, girl, you should have gotten in the back of the trunk of a car or dig yourself a hole. What is going on here?
Even the vampires in that stupid oh my God, Salem's Lot remake knew better, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. Yes. Because I loved that one so much.
Oh yeah, it was your favorite movie.
So the poignancy of the poignancy of how on that beach it was, the sheriff and his son for the last time together, saying their prayers to the to the east, to the sunrise, as the sunrise was happening. Yes. And it was just man, I don't know, I'm emotional. I was crying because it was just this feeling of because the sheriff tried so hard to save his son from this cult and tried to get him to not go to this church and not participate in all of this. And, teenagers are willful, and he did it anyways. And then, did the vampire thing. So as soon as that sun was going to hit him, he was going to, catch on fire. Yeah. Whereas the sheriff, he wasn't going to catch on fire, but he was dying because I think he was shot or hurt or something,
Yeah,
right?
they-
Like something.
Got shot like twice with that shotty. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he was
Oh,
gonna
and that-
die too, but the fact that they sat there and like did their prayers together that one last time, like, oh, that was hard. I was crying.
And the point wasn't that his son became a Muslim. The point was he was doing this with his father, and they were sharing that moment together. And I agree, it was very beautiful. It's very poignant. And I think in part 2, we'll dig more into Sheriff Hassan. Thank you, Mike, for pointing out that I got the name wrong. That's me. I'm bad with names.
Was he call him Sharif? Was he calling him Sharif?
Because
Yeah.
that's
No,
what Joe
that
was
was the
calling him. Yeah.
nickname that Joe gave him. So
Yeah,
it's
Joe gave
not
him.
bad.
I don't know. I
It makes
missed
sense.
his name every time they said it, and I heard Sharif, and I'm like, oh, is this supposed to be like a parable? Like, why is he called? Like, okay, whatever.
No, Joe literally was making a play on what he was and started calling him Sharif through the thing, but his name was Hassan.
Ironic racism. You know, it's fine.
Yeah.
Honestly,
whatever.
that was sweet in its own way too. Like his relationship with Joe was like, "Yep, all right, we're back at it again."
I know.
Say the night, like
It was perfect.
one
Well, he
time
didn't
he's
bust the
bringing him
kid that was
coffee.
selling him drugs because he was like, whatever. You know?
The only guy who's nice to me on this island. Let me have this. Like
Literally. Yeah.
Seriously.
What a great moment.
Oh my
All right. Well,
All right.
on that note, that is our first episode on Midnight Mass. Next week we will be talking about the themes of the show a bit deeper, of course. You know, we of course talked about most of the show, but there's more to talk about. This is a very dense show, and you really should watch it. If you listen to us talk about it for 40 minutes and didn't watch the show, what are you doing? So on that note, I'm King Loki. That's Old Norse for Daniel Sokoloff. I don't know, demonlandbooks.com, Deathwish Poetry Magazine. Hire me over at Nightcap Writing Services to edit your book or whatever, or Adrian will make you a cover if you want. Mike is a poet. He is awesome. He does slam poetry. I have his book somewhere. I'm very professional, clearly. Mike, you want to plug some stuff?
Sure, yeah. So I've got my book, The Porch Light. I published like 2 years ago, or yeah, almost 2 years ago. I came out with a chapbook early this year focused on the deadly sins. And yeah, slam poetry is my thing. I've been writing horror poems recently, so I love it.
Yeah, it's a great fucking book. We love him. Mike is very talented. Do buy his book or I will haunt your dreams. CA, of course, has started a business called Embracing Divergence at CA.
Yeah, so I'm offering basically creative consulting services. So anybody who considers themselves a creative of any kind, writer, musician, artist, entrepreneur of any kind, basically I just sort of partner with you through transitions or like level ups or launches or anything you're doing where you're just trying to kind of like make sure you push to that next level. I'm gonna get you there. So hit me up if that sounds like you.
Link is below. Do check
Link in
that out.
bio.
And do follow link in bio. And do follow CA's Instagram and Mike's Instagram. And Adrian is, of course, the chairwoman and founder of the Horror Film Art Society of Amarillo. Adrian, you want to talk about that real fast?
This month's film is She is Conan, which is drenched in glitter and blood. And I highly suggest, I know it's so cringy, but it's literally what that movie is.
A French feminist art house take on Conan the Barbarian.
It is. It has Elena Lowenson in it. It's beautiful. Most of it's done in black and white, and the use of color is chef's kiss. So, if you guys are inclined to watch this crazy film and make some art about it, whether it's poetry or painting or whatever, send it my way, guys. We want all of it.
Yeah, link is below. Honestly, it's probably too late by the time this goes up, so whatever. I'm glad you said it though. Yeah, that's that. Write poetry, make art, and love your demons. Ave Satanas, and that's about that. So yeah.
Signing off.
Yol.